Coming up on Oakdale Update, we'll take a look back on 2017 with our Mayor Paul Reinke, and we'll tell you about some upcoming events. Stay tuned, Oakdale Update is straight ahead. Hello and welcome to Oakdale Update. I'm your host, Frank Ursello. This is the City of Oakdale's news and information program about your community. 2017 has been an exciting and busy year in the City of Oakdale. With me to talk about the past year is our Mayor Paul Reinke. Paul, thanks for joining us on Oakdale Update.
Well, thank you for the invitation, Frank. It's always a pleasure to be here.
I hope so. Okay, we had a whole line of questions here, but we're going to start with something that just happened even as we speak. They're fixing the road, 694, 494. Both directions are plugged up because of water breakage. Now, this is an emergency situation, and it happened this is a Monday, this was Sunday that it happened. So just for our audience, let's talk about how the emergency crew and how you people found out about it and what you do about it. Okay, let's start from the beginning. You got a call or somebody got a call. Let's go back to the city.
Let me set the stage just a little bit.
Sure.
So we have infrastructure, water infrastructure throughout Oakdale, serviced by water towers and 9 wells. 2 of the wells are the ones that serve primarily the majority of our drinking water. So we have property, or the city extends on both sides of 694, and Sunday morning I got the first call that a issue was discovered. It wasn't clear at the time what the issue was, but Sunday morning we discovered that there was a major breakage, or a breakage on a major line, a 16-inch water main going underneath 694. Right about the 15th Street overpass. So that's a significant, as you can imagine, that's a very, very significant incident. And what made me proud, quite frankly, of how our city responds and how our city takes care of issues is that the processes were already in place to make the notifications. So the first notification went to the city engineer, and that identified elements of the water tower water levels, that the pumps were working, our well pumps were working at the same time, and that there was an indication that there was a breakage, a major breakage, because of the water loss. That triggered additional phone calls and our relationship with St. Paul on their Public Works Department. We've had that in place for, 13, 14 years, best I can tell, and they responded quickly to attack the situation and minimize the issues with the rest of the city on water levels and safety of the water. But you know, it's interesting too, one of the people that called me expressing concern about the situation wanted to have our own people on site to do it, and why are we working with St. Paul to do this? The conversation ensued, and I explained that for the sophistication of the talent and the ability to react quickly and the equipment that's needed to fix these type of major water distribution pipes, it would be very, very expensive and costly for us to have it for our own city. So our joint venture, or our partnership that we have with St. Paul, has come into play several times and worked well. So on this issue, the fact that 694 right now is closed for a 5-mile stretch because of the washout of key areas of that pipe and the road, it's a big deal.
Yes.
So again, processes are in place to repair it. MnDOT has been working all night long with crews and will continue 24-hour operation to repair that. And then our own staff and our police are also involved in helping redirect and re-guide people.
Sure. It's so great that you had some kind of emergency procedure in place, because this was major, big time, wasn't it?
It sure was. And you're right on the money with the word procedure. We talk about different things that can happen in our city often. It's impossible to write out A, B, C, D about every single thing that might happen and how we're going to react. But the beauty of our city and our staff is that the department heads have been around for a very long time. They're experienced, they have the respect of their people, they have the respect of the other communities, and they have the processes about what the next steps are to take care of the issue, no matter what it is.
Yes. I went yesterday just to see, just being nosy, and I was standing on the 15th Street Bridge watching them work on it, and I couldn't believe there was semi-trucks, there were front diggers and all that in place right away. I mean, this was probably 3 hours, 4 hours after this was notified. So your idea of going to St. Paul, I mean, you've been contracting to them. We've been contracting them for a long time, haven't we?
Yes, easily 13 years, 14 years.
I mean, and they're so well equipped for it, and I mean, and they know what they're doing. But all that equipment out there, we could never have done this, I don't think. I mean, you know.
Not without a significant expense to our annual budget to have that preparedness. This is a much better situation to have those type of relationships.
Yes, it is. Do you know off the top of your head, we won't find out yet, but how did that pipe break in the first place?
It's undetermined at this point.
Okay.
I've asked the question, and we'll get more information from the contractors who are on site making the repair. But right now, it's just undetermined.
Okay. Well, I was watching them yesterday, and they dig, and the water gush up, and they dig some more in the water. It was just, but okay. Well, can they not shut the pump off, or shut that pipe off someplace up there?
Oh, they did, and that was one of the beauties too, is that they were able to shut off the water and redirect the flow so that it stopped the gush.
Okay.
But we were also concerned about the ongoing loss of water for our residents. So there was several neighborhoods that had a reduced water pressure, and then there was an orderly or planned shutdown when we redirected the water away from that pipe.
Sure. And
And those people did lose their water.
okay.
We went door to door to notify them and provide bottled water too.
Okay. Well,
So it was a combination of how to fix
okay,
it.
so under the circumstance, it was just wonderful, and of course, this isn't going to be aired for another 10 days or so, 5 days, 6 days. Anyway, there'll be more to come. People, I hope they keep track in the newspaper. Anyway, well, let's get back to why you're here in the first place. We're going to talk about some of the events in 2017. First of all, you've been mayor for 2 years now, isn't it?
Just about a year.
Just about a year, okay. One of the things which, I'm not this is a real big deal, but the dog park. You got to put a new dog park in on a piece of land up on the north end of Oakdale.
Right.
Tell us a little bit about that one.
It is a big deal because it's a large piece of property, a piece of property that the city had owned for many, many years. It also was impaired by a couple of things. There was a pond, a water retention pond, and a pipeline easement going through it. So it was never going to be sold, it was never going to be developed. And there was an idea that came up a couple of years ago, and it evolved to a dog park, and it evolved after a search of the community about where to place this park. That became the leading contender, and that's right on 50th, just off Helmo, and it's worked out very, very well. So it's a fenced area, it's an open leash park. We have the first phase done, which is putting the fence up, making the trails, and then the second phase will be paving the parking lot.
Okay. Okay, so it was a piece of land that you kind of didn't know what to do with anyway, right? I mean, it was
open space land, yeah.
Okay, so that's a good idea. All right. The other thing is I want to talk about the 4 train crossings. Okay, now we've got, let's see, 120, Granada, Hadley, and Inwood. So there's new barriers up by the tracks. So what's the purpose of that? Why did we do this?
One of the things that is always a high priority for Oakdale City Council leaders is to increase the quality of life for residents in the city. one of the aspects of that is the obnoxious noise. How do we deal with the obnoxious noise of that train whistle, the train horn? It's one thing to have it at 10 o'clock in the morning, at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It's a whole other thing to have it at 11 p.m. and maybe 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock a.m. in the morning, especially for the maybe a block distance away from those crossings. So the Federal Railroad Institute put in place procedures about how to make improvements on safety at those crossings so that the train whistle can be eliminated. We started looking at that, believe it or not, 3 years ago, and the Federal Railroad Authority made improvements so it wasn't so awful expensive. It used to be through the roof because of the improvements on safety and to make sure that we could not have people going around the barriers and get caught by these trains.
So is that the purpose of the train whistles mostly, is to keep, so
it's a
people
safety
know
element.
It's a safety
Absolutely,
thing. Okay.
absolutely.
Okay.
And so we decided to proceed, and we decided to do all four pretty much at the same time. And by the time the show airs, we should have had the Railroad Authority in inspecting the signage so that they truly can eliminate the whistles. So we have our improvements in place that we paid for, and now the Railroad Authority will notify the engineers that they no longer have to blow the whistles.
Okay, so
that was a big move.
Okay, so you have barriers from the tracks on each side up 20 feet, 30 feet, something like that.
Yes, sir.
The point of that is to keep people from going around the barriers, is that correct?
Yes, sir. And sneaking through the crossing, and it's going to work very, very well. People still have to be aware and be willing to obey.
Of course.
But it's going to work very, very well.
Okay. The only thing is, train whistles are kind of Americana, aren't they? Hank Williams singing about the lonesome whistle blowing and all that. That's all over with.
It's not all over with. It's all over with at these four crossings
in
Oakdale.
At these four crossings and in the middle of the night. I understand
Yes, sir.
that, but Hank Williams probably turning over
You
his
and I can
grave.
go out. We'll take a cup of coffee sometime and go for a drive.
Go for it in the rural area and
Yes.
listen to the train whistles.
Yes.
There's, I don't know, there's something I enjoy. I enjoy the train whistle. But anyway, all right. So here's the other thing. We hired a communication specialist. Now, Elisa McLeod, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, tell me how that happened. How did she come about, and what's her point? What's her purpose?
Once again, this was a couple of years in the making, and the notion about our community is growing, our community is diverse, our community is maturing, and how do we improve our communications, how do we improve our outreach, how do we get more opportunities for people to be involved, and in what manner? No longer is it like when you and I were younger, we would be able to have time in the afternoons or evenings to come up for a meeting or participate through that type of venue. So we needed to figure out a different way, additional ways for people to interact with the city. One way was to create a new position, and this was the communication specialist. And while it was the interaction piece that we wanted to concentrate on, we also wanted to concentrate on the outreach and the communication going outward. And our method at the time had been pretty broken up. Each department was doing their own thing, and nobody was really owning our Facebook sites or social media sites. So Facebook, Twitter, can't think of the other ones. There's two other ones. And so we were very fortunate to have great candidates interview, and then we were very, very fortunate to have Alyssa be willing to accept the job as our communication specialist.
So is this her first, this is her first job?
With the city.
She come from someplace
Very
else?
experienced. In fact, she was in the real estate biz with the National Association of Realtors in a similar role of communications enhancement and specialty.
Okay.
So for us to be able to get her with a lot of knowledge about how real estate works and communities was just a wonderful, wonderful thing.
Was this something to do with the assistant city administrator? He took a different job, and he was not replaced. Is she part of that, his replacement?
Yes, in terms of funding.
Yes.
When Jason, our assistant city administrator, took another job down in Arizona in the academic world, we took a step back again and said, okay, what do we need? Where are the issues that we want to enhance? And we decided to redirect some of the monies through that position into this communication specialist position.
Okay. So my other question is, we launched a new website. Is this tied in with your
You know, in some ways, yes. The website had been underway through a small group trying to enhance what we have or create totally new. And it was a little bit of both. We enhanced and we created. And so it was well underway before Alyssa started, but she was able to provide some insight to improve it again as far as the interactiveness of how we want to communicate
So
with
she's
people.
a social website computer guru, is that correct?
That's one of her tasks and
Yes.
one of her expertises. Think of it more as a overall communications specialist and expert. And so when you think about our city or think about our city as a business, how do we want to communicate? How do we want to portray an image of
Sure.
Oakdale?
Sure.
And she's helping us weed through some of the craziness that has happened, but also to make some improvements, very many improvements, on making sure that the message and the manner in which we communicate is consistent and high quality.
Have you seen some results so far? Or have you seen some improvements in results?
You bet. The social media piece is the most obvious.
Yes.
So again, you're looking at a dinosaur here, or a dinosaur almost.
I know, yeah.
So the Facebook and the Twitter are the two components that I'm most familiar with,
Yes.
and much more improved.
Well, she's on my list to be interviewed in 2018.
Good.
We're giving her some time to get attached to the job and get going on the job. So I'm going to interview her, and it's going to be, I don't know what to ask her. I mean, because
You'll
I
enjoy.
have no idea. She's so far over my head, but dinosaur. I'm Mr. One Dinosaur. Okay, so the finance director was finalist for the 2017 Leaders in Local Government Award, and that would be Suzanne Warren, right?
Right.
Warren. Susan Warren. Susie Warren.
Susie Warren is a phenomenal manager, leader, and has been a fixture within our city for many years. Her role in the city is the Director of Finance and the Director of HR. Her team, her department of the finance group, were nominated for this Excellence in Finance Award. And it's a state-level Chamber of Commerce type organization that acknowledged her ability and the department's ability to prepare accurate, timely, well thought through financial statements, of course for our internal workings and for our financing aspects. But the other aspect that I think was important for them to be able to be nominated was how they translate that information, which is gobbledygook many times, but we have to make it understandable by normal residents and normal people just living their life. And so they've taken great strides in making that somewhat complicated, archaic numbering system in the financial system into a very understandable, easily understandable set of documents.
Now, she's been with us for 20 years, 25, 30? I don't
think
know,
so.
long time, forever. I don't remember her not being here. Is that correct?
That's correct.
I think she started out of high school or something. Is that correct?
Could be. Could be.
You don't know. Well,
No,
I
I
think
don't
she
know.
would. She just came, and then you have to think that she started when Oakdale was, what, 6,000 people or something
Right.
like that.
Right.
And look at what she's done. I think that is so wonderful.
I agree.
She's grown with the job, and she's improved it, and she's a wonderful lady, isn't she?
And so she's improved herself and she's challenged herself, but she's also challenged us and our leadership and our city councilors to be sure and to be darn sure that we're accurate on our numbers,
Sure.
we're thoughtful about the numbers and about the statements that we present internally and externally. And she does a marvelous job.
Yes, she does.
We're very
Okay, and then I'm going to bring this
Thankful.
up too about our other staff people. We have got such a tremendous staff of workers and people and supervisors and superintendents and everything. Do we not? And you must enjoy working with them, correct?
Yes, I do. So I've been in the mayor role just a year, as you mentioned. Prior to that, though, I was a counselor for 12 years. And during that time, Susie Warren that you mentioned in the finance and HR, Brian Bachmeyer on the city engineering and public works, Chief Bill Sullivan on the police department, Chief Anderson on the fire department. All of these people are long-term employees with skill, knowledge, high level of competencies, great personalities, and that has been instrumental in helping our city be stable. Fourth forward-looking and progressive. So it's been just a joy to be able to work here.
You know, you never see anything nasty in the newspapers about Oakdale. There's never anything bad happening out here. Fortunately, because then you have to answer to it. But
Yes.
and I want to say this too. Now, I've been in Oakdale since '71. I moved out here, and again, it was 6,000 people, 6,300. So, and all these people were here at that time. Most of them were here, and to just watch them grow into this job as the job, I'm sure it got more demanding as you get more people.
Yes, yes.
And these people grew into the job. And look at how nicely we run. Don't you think? I mean, all these years,
I
things
agree.
have gone so well.
I
And we want to thank
wholeheartedly
all
agree.
you people. I mean, you were a council person for a long time. You were on committees, commissions, I'm sure, in the big get-go, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Economic development and then moving into the planning.
I remember that. I remember you were in that. That's right.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
With you.
Yes, I was just starting there. Okay, so now the other thing is our credit rating with Moody's is A2 based on the cities. Well, why is it? How do they base that, and how are we doing on that?
The credit rating aspect relates back to Susie Warren's leadership of the finance department. So the credit rating is a complicated set of circumstances that's looked at by Moody's, is our rating agency. And for us to be able to have the A2 designation, I believe we maintain that, which is, again, phenomenal. So we have a large, complicated budget, and yet the way that Susie and her staff has organized the information allows our rating agencies and our investors, because people buy our bonds, our municipal bonds that we sell to finance equipment purchases. So the rating agency has done a nice job. They understand what's happening. It's clear. We use money wisely. We raise taxes wisely. We collect a lot of, almost 98% of the people in our community are paying their full taxes on time, and that's those are all very positive attributes for that credit rating.
And that credit rating means we get lower interest rates on when we're borrowing and that sort of thing, correct?
That's the most critical part that I think about, yes. So lower interest rates means lower cost to the community and to our city.
That's great. Okay, now our last topic here is the development of the Slumberland land up in the north end of Oakdale. Give us an update on that.
So the land that you're referring to is roughly the 206 acres of property just north of the old Imation, now the Slumberland headquarters. So it includes where 40th is and goes all the way north. That 206 acres is going to be developed, and it's just think, okay, so Oakdale is cool because we have that property, but in the Twin Cities proper, there is no other community that has that much acreage that'll be able to be developed over time, but under one big master plan development.
Yes.
The components will be ranging from multifamily, on the west side towards the freeway, and on the south side, maybe more towards the Slumberland headquarters. And then it's going to be a mixture of single family, medium priced, and maybe a little bit higher priced homes towards the northeast. When it's all done, and we're in the throes of the planning process right now, when it's all done, there could be 1,100 to 1,400 units in that area.
We're lucky that we have virgin property and we can set it up and put it all together in a nice, orderly fashion. Is that correct?
And it's complicated. Nothing in this world is very easy anymore.
Yeah.
But on that piece of property, 3M had entitlements, so they had a plan that was already approved for low-density office warehouse, office assembly, light flex space. All done. And they could have gone out and built that as they needed it.
Sure.
3M's vision changed, business changed, Imation's business changed, and so the 3M Foundation decided that they were willing to sell that property. A firm called Maplewood Development has it under contract, but that process of going from what's already been approved to now a drastically different use, being residential, takes time.
Yep.
And we are all spending time and thought trying to make sure that what we approve and what gets built will enhance our community and enhance the Metro East Side. We're well on our way. It's going to be beautiful.
We're lucky on that one. This is really going to be a big deal for Oakdale. About how many people do you think will be involved in that, in living there, that sort of thing?
You know, depending on how it ends up, and it is a private development, the city doesn't have any ownership in that property. But depending on how it turns out in the final planning stages, it could be anywhere from 1,100 units up to 1,400 units, maybe a little bit more than that.
Sure.
And it's going to be that mixture of different living types, multifamily to single family.
Well, we're taking our time so that we do it right, correct?
Yes, and we're also acknowledging and conscious of the market. We can't spend too much time, I call it belly button looking, looking at our own, what do we want, and keep on regurgitating that information.
Yes.
We have to make wise decisions. We have to use it with data. The developer obviously is involved with us very, very closely, but we are going to move quickly so that the market can be capitalized on.
You bet. Well, Mr. Mayor, we are out of time, and I think we covered as many things as we possibly could. We touched on a lot, but we could go a lot deeper than that. Yes, now, if you would like to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, because it's hard to believe it's 50 degrees out even as we speak, but it's going to get winter, and it's going to be Christmas. So you want to wish them a happy Christmas.
Absolutely. So it's a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. So it's a safe and blessed holiday event for everybody.
Okay. Thank you for joining us today. It's almost time for a short break, but first, here's a reminder. The city's winter parking rules are in place now to April 1st. During this time, vehicles cannot park on city streets from 12 to 5 a.m. or anytime snowfall exceeds 2 inches. It's time for a short break. We'll be right back with more of Oakdale Update in just a minute.
Did you go tanning? You're getting so tan. We need some sun.
Protect yourself. Protect your friends. Stop tanning. Learn more at spotskincancer.org.
Check that smooth backside. No, really, check it. When detected early, skin cancer is highly treatable. Learn more about what to look for at spotskincancer.org.
Welcome back to Oakdale Update. We're almost out of time, but first, here are some upcoming events. The indoor market has returned to the Discovery Center every Saturday through March. Discover all that the 20-plus vendors at the market have to offer. Hours are from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. For dates and vendor information, please visit oakdalefun.com. And finally, here are a couple of holiday reminders. You can recycle holiday lights as well as Christmas trees. Oakdale City Hall accepts Christmas lights all year long. The donated lights are recycled. City Hall is located at 1584 Hadley Avenue. And you can drop off live trees during the month of January at the Oakdale Public Works facility at 1900 Oakdale Avenue. That's all we have time for this month on Oakdale Update. For everyone at the City of Oakdale, thanks for watching.